I remember so clearly that weekend of interviews at the Garden Street office of Y Combinator in Cambridge, where we met.
Those interviews were longer, right? Wasn't it a long interview?
It was 40 minutes at the time.
40 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So it was 40 minutes. There were only 8 companies that got chosen. There had been this plan that this was like right when Y Combinator started. Y Combinator was either going to say, yes, we'll fund you. No, we're not going to fund you, or we can't quite tell, so we're going to invite, a few companies that are on the borderline to Cambridge to interview with us. And I believe, Jessica will know, but I believe they invited everybody. They didn't accept anybody without an interview.
No, we interviewed everyone.
I was going to say, I didn't realize you were going to do sight unseen.
That was the original plan.
Oh.
Or at least that was what it said in the application form.
Really?
See, he remembers the application form.
I know my memory might be spotty, but that's not ringing a bell because we literally interviewed everyone. But maybe on the application form we said that. That's possible.
I think you definitely interviewed everybody. That's my memory.
Okay.
But I think it because the application form said we're only going to interview like the close calls, we all showed up thinking we were like
the
kind of
borderline, that you were on the bubble.
And then PG told us, hey, we decided to interview everybody. I think it was like that.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So we were all there
idea.
like kind of stressed. We were like all kind of like trudging in with our backpacks and, like there were some like real characters in the room.
Oh, for sure.
Wait, before you even tell this though, we couldn't remember, you were at Stanford, you were working in an AI lab there. How did you even start Looped? Were you a freshman or a sophomore when you started Looped?
A sophomore.
Okay.
And it was really like barely, it was like a project. It was not it would not have turned into a company without Y Combinator. It would have just been like a kind of dorm room project, and that would have been it.
And had you known about Paul Graham from his essays? Because
I had. Yeah.
Okay. You had to have. Yeah.
I think that's how everybody at the time knew about Paul, was through his essays, like had a real kind of cult following. And then I heard about, it was called the Summer Founders Program at the time. And I heard about, which was posted sort of like fairly late in the year. Like I think I'd already accepted an internship. But I heard about it from Blake Ross, who lived across the hall from me.
Firefox.
Maybe downstairs in the dorm. Firefox, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this is where memory gets a little hazy, but I think he posted it on Facebook, the Facebook at the time, as a link.
The Facebook? That's right. I forgot about that.
And he said, like, this seems like a cool thing. And that was that.
Wait, he didn't apply, though, did he?
He didn't apply, but that was how I found out about it.
So you had this sort of dorm room project Looped. You saw Y Combinator. You flew out. I won't drag in the famous "I'm a sophomore and I'm coming" story because, Sam, I'm going to admit it. You didn't actually say "I'm a sophomore and I'm coming." You were much more polite about it. I saw the email and it said, like, by the way, I am a sophomore, just in case some applications got confused.
It was a little more polite. I appreciate you saying that.
Yes. So tell me about that weekend. So you show up for your interview and it was just you, right? It wasn't you and Nick.
It was just me.
Okay.
I did a red eye the night before. I slept on a couch for a little bit in my friend's dorm room. And then I walked, it's like kind of a decently far walk from the T station.
Did you tell your parents or no?
I must have.
Okay.
I must have out of excitement.
Okay.
Yeah. And I, I was like trudging down the street and it's sort of like beautiful spring in Cambridge and there's all these like trees and it's very different from Silicon Valley. It's like old in a really nice way. And I was like, this is like pretty cool. And then you walk inside the Garden Street building, which is nothing like kind of what you'd expect from the outside or that whole neighborhood. It's like beautifully done, but kind of a really strange, unexpected space. But I thought it was awesome. It also was like shockingly quiet. That's like one thing I really remember. It's like a very well soundproofed building.
Oh,
so you
now that you know Paul Graham, you know why, right?
With his soundproof office, because it was his office before we hijacked it for Y Combinator.
And there's all these like people milling around and, the 4 partners. Oh, they had kept Jessica's secret.
Oh.
At the announcement.
Yes, I was the 4th member.
She was the mysterious 4th member. I think that's why your email address was X, as I recall.
That's exactly right. It was X at Y Combinator because I didn't want anyone knowing my affiliation yet because I don't think I had quit my job officially.
Right.
Like they would have known or cared. But anyway.
So, we meet the mysterious fourth partner. We're kind of like in there talking with the other groups. It was 40 minutes was like a shockingly long interview, especially relative to the 10 now.
What did you talk about for 40 minutes? Because Looped must have been pretty early days.
Very early days. It was like a full-on office hours session. It felt more like an office hours session than an interview.
Okay.
There were like some questions, but it was mostly brainstorming.
And we were probably really psyched because you actually had something. You had, formulated this idea and were actually building something. So it must have been.
Yeah, we had like a demo to look at.
Yeah.
And then like kind of you'd hang out with the other companies. It was more of an all-day event than YC interviews are now. And then went to dinner, and during dinner, PG called me. And it was this like it's like one of those moments that gets like burned into your brain. But I like remember I went outside the restaurant. I was like standing on the street. I had this old palm trio. That's how long ago it was. And Paul was like, we'd like to fund you. And that was definitely one of those like life pivot moments.
Aww. And you said yes.
Yeah.
I remember. Okay, so that was in April.
So the April of your sophomore year. So you're a sophomore in college. But
I think Paul said something like, if you need a few minutes to think it over, you can, but that would be like a real disappointment from failing an intelligence test.
He said that to you?
Something like that.
Are you sure?
There was
sure?
That's it was much funnier than the sophomore thing.
It was nicer than that.
Oh my gosh. Well, to be fair, we did, even in the first batch, Carolyn, we sent all of the legal documents to the founders ahead of time. So the only question that they should have had was, yes, do I want to accept this offer or not? They had all the details.
Well, go ahead, Sam.
Also at the time, there was not a fixed term. So there was like different valuations. So he was like, ahead of time, you get the documents. You shouldn't have any other questions except this one thing, which we'll decide, which is the valuation we're offering. And so if you need a few minutes to think about that, you can. But everything else you should have known ahead of time. Anyway, I said yes right away.
Yeah.
Okay.